been a very interesting 2 months. Sort of, there's been a period where there's just a lot of fantasy news to go around, a lot of content to consume. House of the Dragon, amazing. Rings of Power, good. I haven't seen it yet, but I liked what I saw first too. I'm sort of anyway. That's a different conversation. But something else is that there is a lot of Brandon news to go around. There's been a new Kickstarter. They are doing Stormlight Archive miniatures. There's a game. Um, there's a game that was released, and then next year is going to be this big year, the year of Sanderson, as it has been called. The secret projects are going to be released next year, and that's going to be a whole thing. Oh, there is news that Mistborn might be in production for a movie adaptation. Make it good. That's the only thing. Make it good. Don't let it be mediocre. There's make it good. If anyone who cares about that is listening. Um, but so something that has been happening is that there is in November the Lost Metal, which is the fourth book in Mistborn Era 2, Mistborn Era 2, the Wax and Wayne series. The fourth book in that, and probably the last, is going to be the Lost Metal, which is highly anticipated by yours truly because there is a lot of questions that I need answered. So something that has been happening is that Tor is publishing preview chapters of that. So we've gotten 2 chapters a week for that story so far. We're up to chapter 9 so far, which dropped yesterday. And I read them and I have thoughts, quite a lot of thoughts. Oh my goodness. So firstly, Wax and Wayne, they've grown up. We are having a time jump of at least not less than 5 years, I think, because Waxilium Ladrian is now a politician. In truth, he has settled down into the city itself. He is maneuvering, trying to stop a bill from passing. Basically, he's still doing the same thing, except now he's given up the guns and he's doing it with papers. It's really great to see him as a family guy. They have a son now called Max. Is it Maxilium? What were you thinking, Max? I don't know whether to just be annoyed with you or just saying, Max, Wax. It makes sense. It's interesting to see him as a father. I think it will be such an interesting childhood having. I mean, what would happen if Superman or one of these heroes who are usually just capering about their cities, if they had a family, how would that interaction happen? I like that those scenes with Max and the carriage thing, the harness that he Wax carries him around in. I don't know if Max is going to have allomantic or ferrochemical abilities. I certainly hope he does. Both of his parents have ties to families with the abilities. Oh gosh, he's going to have to get snapped. Maybe we'll see more of Max in Era 3. But so far, he's just going to be a kid. And mm, one of my absolute favorite characters in the whole of Era 2 is Steris. I just like her brand of oddness, especially in the previous book. We see we see quite a lot from her, and she just goes up in my ranking. She might be just my favorite character of Era 2 so far, and it's just nice to see them acting as a family unit. Or she's just how they're managing to move around the politically tense situations. How she's still as obsessed as ever with the details, and I just really like hers and Wax's relationship. Wayne, and Marasi herself. I think Marasi is going to be one of those characters who becomes a big player in the Cosmere. We see this quite a lot. Shalandava is going there. Chris herself, and Marasi. I just have a lot of questions by this point. The last book really leaves a lot of blanks. What the heck was Kelsey doing in Southern Scadrial? What is happening in Southern Scadrial? We see in these preview chapters, we are sort of introduced to the fact that time has passed, but still not a lot is known about Southern Scadrial. How are they producing these medallions? How are they uh, yes, trade is happening, but obviously there are a lot of things that come into consideration. And with this new embassy, this new ambassador that has been sent over, we learn that Southern Scadrial has sort of solidified into the Malwish Empire, or I think the Malwish something. Um, it's just going to be interesting seeing how these two peoples react to each other. A question of mine that has been bugging me is how the heck can these people, how can they just stay in Elendel, the basin itself, and really not explore? I know we say that Harmony made this sort of paradise. Everything you could ever want is here. Why would you want to go anywhere? But still, as a society progresses, as science and whatever comes into play, and these guys, they're deep into the industrial revolution. How have they not explored their continent? Or maybe I just don't have a full picture of the map, but that is worrying, worrying quite a lot. So I'm just going to go out and assume that we actually have only two supercontinents on this whole planet. That there is not another land out there somewhere that we will find out about. Let's just assume that. Um, I've been thinking about the set lately, and what exactly are these guys up to? I sometimes I think they're just too overblown, overvillain, because I don't know if we really have a firm grasp on their motivations. What they are religious, because at this point it seems like they are just um, fanatics, religious fanatics for this trail dude, who I think we're going to get more of. Anyway, let me just the big standout for me so far is is the fact that when Wax gets out of the courtroom, he just casually mentions that, oh, they have a new driver, and the guy's name is Hoyt. What is Cephandrius doing on Scadrial? What is Cephandrius doing on Scadrial? Because in Rhythm of War, he tells, or rather, they tell this guy, the Ghost Bloods, what's his name? What's his name? They tell him to tell you a lord or guy who the lord of scars, Kelsia. Tell him to mind his own business, or I'll come there and pummel him once again. There's this Kelsey and Cephandras. They don't like each other. In Secret History, we learn about how they met. So I'm like, so this is probably where Cephandras goes immediately after the conflict of book 5. So we might learn quite a lot of things from random comments and how he talks about things. We might learn about what happened on Rosha itself. So far we've had some cool hints. There is a statement that is made by one person who is dying in this first preview chapter that makes me think, wait, is this a death rattle? Do you want to tell me that? Okay, I know most of the powers they work in similar manners, but that sounded oddly like a death rattle precisely at the moment he died. And now that I think about it, Miles' 100 Lives, the villain from the very first book, was that a death rattle, or was it just a boast of his? I need to go back and see that from a clearer perspective. So people, the colors red and gold are mentioned. The men of red and gold will come and do something, something. Aren't red and gold the colors of guy Odium? I think red and gold are his colors. So is Trell Odium, or is he just one of the splinters of the shard of autonomy? Autonomy apparently has splintered herself. Is that the right word? No, that's not the right word. She has almost like a dissociative identity. Well, see, she just has splintered herself into several. Okay, she has divided herself into several deities that are worshipped all over um, on different worlds in the cosmere. She has made herself into a pantheon, which is just an interesting case study, I'd say. Wait, is it autonomy or is it devotion or whoever? One of those other shards. I'm not very clear on the details, so you'll forgive me that. But so far, it's exciting. I really want to see what Hoyd is doing here. And please, let me have people. There are people that I want to come into attendance. I want to know what Iron Eyes is doing. What has Mash been doing this 300 odd years? And maybe we'll see Kelsey actually coming into play. What happened to that coin full of memories that Wax tapped into? And it seems like there is even more to be learned about allomancy and metallurgy and ferrochem itself. Oh, it seems as though now we are being. It's going to be interesting when you can just literally purchase these powers and have them spiked into you. Maybe if they find a way to make the spikes look less heinous or something. And obviously it's going to be interesting to see what harmony we require from Wax this time round, and what exactly is happening, because it feels like we're gearing up for a big fight for Scadrial survival. They'll make it. I think they'll make it, because this guy says that the ash is going to come back, and I'm like, what is that going to actually happen? It might happen. That might be a Scadrial might literally be destroyed, and that be the impetus for its peoples wanting to flee. We know that most of the Cosmere is going to be gearing up for this huge interplanetary war, a war of gods and all that. Odium has been preparing Russia for it, and I guess Harmony has been bolstering Scadrial's technology. We know that they're going to be the most technologically advanced civilization in the Cosmere. Uh, and I want to be there for it. I want to be there for it. Also, one has to wonder what places like Shadesma are going to feel like once people really understand the vast distances that divide the planets themselves. Is this, this Shadesma, the realm of the mind, going to stretch and be longer so that it's actually harder to traverse the planets, or what? Or maybe it's actually going to grow closer, since as consciousness expands and people know about the cosmere, they'll be thinking about it in terms of, oh, there's actually another world just around the corner. So maybe distances will become smaller. There's a lot in the cosmere. There's a lot of good things to look forward to. And I do have a few misgivings, or things that I am worried about. So let me just mention them. Um, Brandon has mentioned a few times that the cosmere, these interconnected worlds and all that, it became popular because Marvel itself became popular, and the idea of the multiverse and the many world theory itself has become popularized in the collective cultural conscious, and he says that's why the cosmere took off, became popular as it did. So considering that, and Marvel has been having a few problems lately. People are complaining that the Marvel formula is it's growing old. basically there are a lot of complaints, and some of them are pretty legitimate. This idea that if you haven't seen a particular show, series, or movie, you probably will not get some of these references. And what Marvel does, this crafting of little details and hints and cameos and things that fans can go and disassemble and look at closely. Brandon does that too. He does it pretty in depth, in a pretty in depth manner. And I don't know if Brandon is considering some of those criticisms. Some of those, some of them are just nitpicking, but some are really legitimate things that need to be considered. I hope the Cosmere doesn't, you know, stumble before it's actually begun its race. This could be the next big thing. I honestly think this could be the next big thing. Once we start having adaptations, Mistborn, this thing is going to take off, and we don't want it to crash before it attains its appropriate apotheosis, so to speak.